Good evening, and welcome to the San Francisco Out of the Darkness Overnight. We're thrilled to be back in this beautiful city by the bay, and didn't this weather cooperate? Beautiful. I thank you for taking this powerful journey with us, and for leading the fight to prevent suicide. It's because of you we're going to beat this. And it's because of you we are bringing hope. Hope to those who struggle with a mental illness, hope to those who've made a suicide attempt, and hope to those who've lost a loved one to suicide. And because of you, we are advancing the research, the education, and the advocacy that we need to prevent this tragic loss of life. And our work is more critical than ever. The suicide rate has been trending up for over a decade. In fact, you may have seen a recent report by the CDC, which said the suicide rate has increased 24% since 1999. That's a number we can't accept. And to reverse this trend, AFSP has set a goal to reduce the U.S. suicide rate 20% within 10 years. And we launched Project 2025 to help us attain this goal. This project is analyzing who are we losing, where are we losing them, and how are we losing them. And from this analysis, we've identified actions that have the potential to reduce mortality the fastest and save the most lives. For example, we now know that a high percentage of those who die by suicide have previously been seen by a medical professional, either in primary care, behavioral health, emergency departments. And these are people who've come in contact with the healthcare system, but their risk for suicide went undetected, or they didn't get the help that they desperately needed. Through higher standards of care, training of professionals, greater use of interventions that have effectiveness, in those kinds of settings, we know we could save more lives. We also have learned 51% of those who die by suicide have used a firearm to take their life. So Project 2025 is focused on working with the firearm-owning community, retailers, instructors, shooting ranges, and more, to promote suicide prevention as a part of safety and responsible gun ownership. We're going to do a lot about that. That's going to save a lot of lives. So this is just the beginning. You'll be hearing more about Project 2025 in the months ahead and the years ahead. So now let's talk about tonight. Tonight, we bring our message of hope to the streets and the hills of San Francisco. Yeah! And we walk to create a day when suicide won't cut short the lives of our family members, our friends, our co-workers, classmates, or the lives of our veterans and our brave men and women in uniform. And tonight we walk to lift up those who struggle with thoughts of suicide and those who've acted on those thoughts. To everyone with us tonight who's had the experience of being suicidal, I say to you, thank you for your courage, and we are glad you are with us. Also tonight we walk to remember those we've lost. And to honor their memory, I ask you to join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. Tonight we walk to end misinformation and discrimination that keeps people from getting the help they need. It's unacceptable that only 1 in 5 with a mental health condition receives treatment. That's a gap. We have to close that gap. And in that closing, we could save many more lives. And tonight, I walk in honor of each of you to thank you for what you're doing, for your involvement, for your leadership. You are dedicated to our cause, and for that, I walk for you. Because of you, AFSP has become the largest private funder of research in the world. Much of what is known about suicide is coming from studies we're funding. In the past 5 years alone, we have funded over 110 new studies. Because of you, we're connecting with students, teachers, clinicians, people throughout the community. We're talking about mental health and suicide prevention in ways we've never done before. Our More Than Sad program has taught well over 1 million students, teenagers, about depression, to recognize it in themselves and their classmates, and what to do to get help. And this year we launched a new program, Talk Saves Lives, a new program educating the public about the warning signs and what to do. And because of you, our online anonymous screening program is helping many of our nation's most vulnerable, our college students, veterans, first responders. We're proud that it's now being used by the VA, by law enforcement agencies, by colleges, and by workplaces. This is a program that can identify and get help for people who are struggling. And because of you, when someone dies by suicide, we can be there to support the family and friends and to let them know they're not alone. And because of you, this year we charted our 85th chapter. We are now have a chapter in every state for the first time. Because of you, there's now a movement to prevent suicide, a movement that was really unimaginable a decade ago, and a movement that involves now well over 1 million people, and a movement that will ensure that we will achieve our goal of a 20% reduction in the suicide rate within 10 years. So yes, we have an ambitious goal, and we're under no illusions about some of the challenges. But in the words of John Lennon, you may say we are dreamers, but we're not the only ones. I hope someday you'll join us, and together we will save tens and tens and tens of thousands of lives. And I hope you'll keep walking for suicide prevention, either in one of our community walks or in next year's overnights. Now, next year, we'll be walking overnight for the first time in the city of San Diego. And we'll also be walking back where it all started, in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C. We'll be announcing the dates in a few months, but tonight you can register at the Save a Spot, reserve a spot, and there's discounts on registration, so I hope you'll continue to walk overnight. Now I want to thank some amazing people for their support. Thank you Transit America Services for sponsoring our midnight snack, and thank you to Caltrain for use of their station at 4th and King. I also want to recognize our incredible AFSP Greater San Francisco Bay chapter. We could not have done this event here without them, and what they do all year long. And I want to thank our volunteer crew and our event staff, because without them there is no event. What a great team they are. Please join me in thanking them. And we want the world to know about your overnight experience. So if you're on Twitter or Instagram, please use #OvernightWalk. #OvernightWalk, and tag us at AFSP National. AFSP National. And this year, I've been told, for the first time, we have Snapchat geofilters. For those using Snapchat, midnight snack in closing. And please check them out and make sure you send us at AFSP National. AFSP National.
Yay!
You know I'm big on social media, right? What is that? Snapchat? No, I'm kidding. Now it's my pleasure and really a privilege to introduce our next speaker. In 2005, Kevin Berthia spent 7 hours on a cold and foggy San Francisco night standing on the other side of the railing on the Golden Gate Bridge. Though depressed and feeling hopeless, Kevin did not end his life that night. And Kevin got help. To share his story of survival and recovery, please join me now in welcoming Kevin Berthia. Kevin.
This is amazing. Let me first say that. Wow. This is amazing. Thank you. Up until March 11, 2005, I was living a lie. I grew up in Oakland, where your reputation is everything. So I created a person who looked like he was in control. A person who seemed pretty normal on the outside. But on the inside, I was battling a lot of demons. I didn't even know those demons were out of the ordinary until I was 19 years old, when I picked up a knife during an argument with one of my ex-girlfriends. That day I was tased by the police department, and it resulted in my first psychiatric evaluation. Depression and mental illness, they told me. I didn't believe it. So I eventually took myself off medication and I stopped going to therapy. I was in and out of jobs, and I had a baby girl who needed attention. I eventually stopped sleeping, and I tried to run from all my problems. On March 11, 2005, I woke up at 4:39 a.m. and I felt the weight of everything in my life on my chest. I just wanted to end the pain. So I got in my car and I drove without a plan. I didn't even know how to get to the Golden Gate Bridge. I got lost. To this day, I remember everything. The cars, the people, the wind. I remember thinking, I just need to jump and get ready for the impact of the water. And I remember I heard his voice. I wasn't prepared for a voice to distract me. I was miserably cold and I'm afraid of heights. But I thought I knew what I needed to do. So I lashed out at the voice. At first I yelled and I screamed. And then I just started talking about it all. For 92 minutes, I talked to him and he just listened. He heard about 17 years of pain, the adoption, divorce, my sadness. He didn't ask me why I was there. He didn't say, hey, we need to get you out of here so you can reopen the bridge. I told him I didn't come this far to just go back to my pain. He told me that my daughter could give me the courage to go back. That I'd miss her first birthday if I didn't come back. That's what got me. I put my arms up in the air and he grabbed me. My mind went blank. I never saw his face. I didn't know what he looked like. I didn't even know he was a cop. But he pulled me back. After that, things weren't easy at all. After the hospital, I shut it all out. If you talked about that day on the bridge, even if you were family, I couldn't talk to you. Even my mother, who adopted me out when I was 6 months old and remains the most important person in my life, couldn't get me through it. I strayed off course so many times, and I don't know how I made it. In 2013, the AFSP invited me to New York because the voice, the man who saved me, was being honored. I didn't want to go, but my mother made me, and it changed me forever. On that night, exactly 3 years ago today, I met the officer who saved my life, and I was able to thank him in person. Hundreds of people told me how my story inspired them and how much I helped them and someone they love. It was the first time in my life that I didn't feel alone. It was that moment that I decided to change my life and dedicate everything I have to helping people step over their own personal railings and come back to life. Now I have so much to be thankful for in my life. My significant other, Erin, and her son, Darius. Matter of fact, Erin, can you come on up? I'm sorry. Give me a second. Erin, sorry, can you come on up? Come on. Work with me, guys. Hold on. Give me a second here. Come on. on the spot. Give her a second. She's on the spot. She had no idea she was doing this. This is total improvised. But you are my real family. AFSP is my real family, so I wanted to make sure this day meant a lot to me. It's my 3-year anniversary. This woman means everything to me, and I want to take the time just to propose to her and just tell you that. Will you marry me?
Just say yes. Just say yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sorry about that. Where was I at? Oh yeah. I run a daycare a few days a week, and I'm finding the right counselor and the right medication. I've gotten rid of everything, and I mean everything that dragged me to the bridge. This is my first overnight walk, and I can't wait to walk to you and listen to your stories, just like someone once listened to mine.